the show, we'll break the glass free from the iron right at that mark.
อันนี้ก็เป็นโชว์ปั้นแก้วแล้วก็เป่าแก้วให้เป็นรูปทรงนะคะเป่าอีกเลยพี่เป่าอีก
So you can really see George has quite a bit of talent. He's working extremely fast. George has been doing this for around 25 years, so he's got a lot of experience.
จอร์จที่มีประสบการณ์25 ปีในการเป่าแก้วค่ะ
Soon we're going to have to add feet to the bottom of this piece. Now, George has decided to do a special type of bowl that has 3 kind of bits that are dragged down the side of this bowl. So we'll start that in just a moment. George, do you want just a single gather? Good size gather. All right. Shall I start the first one? All right, so the first foot we'll add on in just a second here. You've got to create the correct shape.
อันใหม่มาอีกมาทำเป็นลายแบบมาเพิ่ม
Using this table, we call it a marver. I'll be able to create a very uniform cylindrical shape. Look good for you?
เขาจะเอามาต่อกันไหมอ่ะ
To apply this, I'll present the glass to George. When he's ready, he'll set his shears up in the air, grab a hold of the iron, place the glass down onto the side of the piece, drag this bit up to the top of the vessel. Don't worry, if you missed it, we're going to do it 2 more times, so I'll get started right away.หลอมเนาะรวมมาแล้วจ้ะพี่จอร์จมาแล้วพี่คนนี้ก็ปั้นมาอีกรูปหนึ่งนี่ค่ะเอาไปเผาอีกรอบนึง Now the goal is for George to create
3
bits like this on the bottom of the piece that look identical. For that to happen, he has to apply them the exact same way. It's also important for me to bring over the same shape, same size, and also the same temperature.
Same size and same temperature เลยเหรอเฮ้ยอะไรจะขนาดเฮ้ยดูดิมันเท่ากันเลยอ่ะเดี๋ยวเขาจะมอบให้เราบ้างไหมอันนึงไหมเอาไปหลอมต่อไม่ติดมันต่อเอ้าคนนี้ทำมาอีกเส้นหนึ่งแล้วนี่จะทำเป็นอะไรรูปอะไรเนี่ยงงแล้วเนี่ยพี่จอร์จก็หลอมให้2 อันเมื่อกี้ติดเข้าหากันนี่ทำอีกเส้นหนึ่งแน่เลยแล้วก็เป็นอันที่3นี่ทำมาอีกเส้นไม่ใช่ว่าทำกันง่ายๆเอาแล้วเขารู้ได้ไงว่าเซมไซส์หรือว่าทำบ่อยนี่ทำมาแล้วอีกเส้น ต้นเลยโอ้โหติ้ว
All right. Just waiting a moment, letting that last or final bit
พี่จอ
cool
ดไป
down.
เผาอีกรอบนึง
We've done just about all we can while we're still connected to this blow iron. In order to work on the piece opening up the top of the bowl, we are going to have to transfer the glass onto a separate iron. We call this a punty. George, you ready for me to start
อ๋อ
that?
ดูอันนี้ก็ได้ค่ะ
Yep.
อันนี้คือหมุนหลอมอยู่ข้างใน
Now this punty is a solid iron. I'll collect just a small amount of glass off the end of the iron. This glass is going to act as a glue, so as long as glass is hot, it will stick to other hot glass.
ก็ทำแจกันใช่ไหมดูแล้วเนี่ยดูจากทรงแล้วเอ้านี่เอามาอีกอันนึงเอง
มันต้องแบบทำขาบ้างทำนู่นนี่ทำขอบทำอะไร
พี่จอดนั่งตกแต่งแจกันไปเรื่อยๆ
All right, George will grab a hold of this iron. Attach it right in the center. It's only going to take a small vibration sent down his iron to break the glass free. So a couple drops of water stresses the material. Light tap.
เฮ้ยเอาไปแล้วเหรอเรานึกว่าทำเป็นแจกันอ่ะ
So this here is going to be one of the longest heats in the show. For us to break glass, it does have to be solid. For this formula, I'd say somewhere down below 1200 degrees. Now a good working range for the material is maybe 16 to 1800 degrees, so he'll spend most of this heat just soaking that heat right into the top half of the vessel. We have a very unique view. You may have noticed it already. A view from the back of our reheating chamber. It's made possible by a special type of glass developed right here in Corning back in the 1930s. The type of glass is called fused silica. It's a very pure formula of glass. I think it's got a melting temperature of just over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's also so pure that they use it for the core of fiber optic cables. Now, throughout this process, George has to maintain a temperature above 900 degrees. If this piece ever falls below that temperature, it is susceptible to thermal shock. It could break apart from cooling too fast. As glass cools, it does contract or shrink a small amount. It'll break because the surface is cooling much faster than the core.
อ๋อจัดเป็นสีส้มอยู่แล้วนะเอายัง
So for us to save anything that we make on this stage, we do have to slowly cool the glass. This process is called annealing. Something this thick typically only takes about 10 to 12 hours to cool down. However, if we were to make something quite a bit thicker, like a solid paperweight the size of a baseball, this could take 2 days to cool down. Just because we're disconnected from the blower, it doesn't mean we can't still add volume to the piece. This tool here that George is using, a very simple tool by design, we call it a steam stick, but it's basically a wooden cone that we keep soaked in water. As long as we create a seal at the lip of the vessel, the heat and water coming in contact creates steam, and that pressure that's trapped inside pushes the walls of the glass out.
หลอมต่ออีก
All right, so George wants to create a very open form. We can do this using tools at the bench. will also use centrifugal force, just heating the glass and turning the iron faster. Naturally, the glass is going to want to flare open. Another part about the design of this piece is those three masses of glass running down the side of the bowl. You may be able to see that the three masses of glass are pulling the bowl into more or less a triangle shape at the lid.
ยังไม่หมดแค่นั้นเอาเข้าไปใหม่อีก
This will be very apparent in the next heat here. Are you going for it this time, George? All right, you'll be able to see this piece dramatically change shape right up here on the monitor. So watch as George turns the iron faster. This bowl will flare open very wide, almost like a plate. The real change happens as he exits the furnace here.
ทำปากกว้างอยู่โอ้เก่งเนอะเก่งเนอะเอาเก่งขึ้นไปด้วยมันมาเป็นอย่างนี้ได้ยังไง
เป็นรูปแบบว่า
โหไม่น่าเชื่อ
Simply by holding the glass towards the ground, the glass, it won't condense back down to the same size, the same shape that it was before that last heat. So it begins to ruffle on the edges. It gives us a very fabric-like form.
อ๋อนั่นสินี่เป็นไอ
All
เลย
right, we've got just a moment, letting the glass cool down. In a second here, we're going to put this piece inside our annealing oven. That's the black box behind
อ๋อ
George's bench. So a couple little taps, breaks right off. Now, anytime glass is broken, it does leave a sharp edge. So we'll use this torch to soften the edge. We call this flame polishing.
เอาไฟมาลนไง
We'll give you one last look before we put this piece away. Let's give it up for our gaffer, George Kennard.